This is Theoretical Thrills, the podcast where three hosts pitch original theoretical rides and attractions based on things they don't own. A special guest judge awards bronze, silver, or gold based on three separate categories: most creative, most practical, and guest's favorite. Whoever has the least amount of points at the end of the season must drive to Disneyland, touch the first gate, and drive home. With bragging rights on the line, the hosts will try to pick each other's ideas apart through gentle ribbing. So sit back, relax, and stand clear of the moving doors as we present Theoretical Thrills.
Theoretical Thrills, the theory of the thrill.
In 3, 2, fun!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Theoretical Thrills. My name's Oliver.
I'm Brad.
And I'm Spencer.
And here today with us, we have a special guest for our Animaniacs episode. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris. Chris, how you doing?
Good, guys. How's it going?
Hey, man.
It's going well. Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
great.
Good.
I'm excited to do such a pivotal series from our youths.
Oh, me too. I've been loving the show, by the way. Absolutely so much fun.
Thank you. Speaking of liking the show, if you enjoy it and you think that it's a good show or you don't like it, and feel free to let us know on both fronts by commenting below. Let us know. We'll respond. So let's talk about you, Chris. What is your relationship with the Animaniacs?
Oh man, I was around the demographic age when they came out back in the 90s. Watched it every Saturday morning with all the rest of the cartoons, and immediately fell in love with it, with how crazy it is, how ridiculous. And then when I was in elementary school, I actually went to one of those DARE meetings that they make you go to.
With the DARE Lion.
And the guest speaker was Rob Paulsen. And
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I had no idea about the world of VO. And he comes in and he's like, "Oh, hi, I'm Rob Paulsen. I do voices for cartoons." And he started listing his characters, and I was just in awe because I had no idea. It was just the one guy doing was it TJ from Goof Troop? And then it was Raphael from the original Ninja Turtles, and then he goes into Animaniacs as Yakko, and then Pinky, and does some of the voices, and my jaw was like on the floor. I'm like, this is amazing. I don't even know what kind of meeting we're in right now, but this is so cool. And we got to meet him for like a quick second, and he was super nice, and that story had like stuck with me for like years. And a couple years ago, actually, I went to Animaniacs Live, their touring show, which was incredible. And I didn't realize it was like how great it was until I got there. And then all three of them came out with Roger Rogel, right? The music writer. And they all started singing the songs. And during intermission, this little old lady next to me, sitting next to me, was like, are you a fan of Rob Paulsen and stuff? I'm like, oh my God, yes. And I started gushing about like that story and how much I've enjoyed his work and followed like all the cartoons he's done. I can recognize his voice because I've heard so much oh, that's one of his voices he does. And afterwards she goes, oh, that's so nice. We're his agents, and points to the rest of the row. And it's all these ladies from his agency. And I was like, oh,
Hello.
hi.
Just hello, nurse.
Hello, nurse. But yeah, man, I'm big fan of both, all of them. Rob Paulsen, Tress MacNeille, Jess Harnell, and I because of that show, I became much more of a VO nerd. So I started,
and then eventually making your way to comedy, which is
yes,
performing where a lot of us have performed with each other before, but the cartoon physicality, I know that you share it on stage as well, where it's that thing of it's a hyper version of a human. It's a human cartoon.
Absolutely. It's funny rewatching the show for this podcast. Was I noticed, especially my coming up from going from former nursing student into musical theater into doing comedy, the blend of comedy and satire and musical theater and singing in this show is I slowly somehow got steered into all of that at this point now. And I'm like, oh no, of course, it makes so much more sense.
It's all stems like, back. Yeah,
absolutely.
I hate to interrupt. I completely blacked out when you mentioned Dare, and all I could think of was in 6th grade, we had a Dare ceremony where they played The Wind Beneath My Wings for the parents, and I just relived that entire moment. So it's great that you have experience with Animaniacs.
So we're going to be talking about Animaniacs, and we're going to get into it. This is just like what you were saying, Chris. It's something that's near and dear to all my mannerisms. The show paid tribute to not only musical theater as a whole, but it paid tribute to the Marx Brothers, to the Three Stooges, to all of the Tex Avery cartoons that were in the past. It was proper sketched storytelling told through this self-aware medium. It's almost like if you took the Muppets and the Looney Tunes and smashed them together, you'd have these characters that were so self-aware of who they were in the industry and who created them, that it was a running joke that it was Spielberg as a punchline. Like that to me is so much fun. So speaking of Spielberg's and theme parks, segue, let's talk about theme parks. Chris, what's your background with like theme parks and that sort of stuff?
Well, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I grew up there till I was 6 and I moved out here. But I did go to Disney World, was probably my first theme park, with like one random trip to a Busch Gardens that I vaguely remember. But living out here, you know, you get to see all the Southern California theme parks with SeaWorld and Disneyland and Universal and Knott's.
Where else can you go on rides featuring Joe Cool?
Nowhere but Knott's. But I worked with them for three different seasons. 2012 and 2013, I worked during their Halloween Haunt, which was absolutely probably one of the best gigs I've ever had. Because I got to go into the park every night for 8 hours and just mess around with like a bunch of like improvisers. Now, my experience as they call scare actors is a little different because I was part of a group for the 40th anniversary called the Tricksters, which was more improviser based, and they were monsters that roamed the park and had little skits interactions with the guests like regular street monsters, but we were like a specific group that were allowed to go all over the park and essentially do almost anything. Like
you were your own thing.
Yeah, and we would just have like enter rides backwards and interact with because we were like the featured like group. Unfortunately, we were not very well liked by the regular monsters because it broke tradition. And I felt bad, but it was still a blast to do that. And then I worked in 2015 during the daytime for Halloween, the trick or treat, and it was just like one of the little like ghouls that would help the kids get candy and then go door to door and press like a fake door with like stuff.
Yep.
And that was meant to be like lighthearted and fun. And I accidentally scared several kids on accident. Well,
it happens, man. It happens, man.
One time on accident, the second time on purpose because it was too perfect. And then from there, I went into the Christmas season and was a calico guest on the train, which was an absolute blast. I don't think I've ever been on a train before then, outside of like subways. So it was really neat.
I would love the idea that like if you were just naive to the fact that trains are a thing aside from that, where it's just like, no, you got to see this ride. It's amazing. It runs on coal and steam. And it goes chugga chugga. Yeah, a train. Man. No, they're all over the place. In fact, it was a thing for a while without planes. Anywho, let's get into it. So we're going to talk about our theme park pitches for the Animaniacs. Now, for clarification's sake, the Animaniacs cartoon and subsequent movies count. We are not counting about things that are jumping universes or that sort of things, even though they're self-referential. So we're going off of the TV show and the movie. Let's jump in, shall we? Mm-hmm. Spencer, in honor of tradition, take it away.
All right. Well, this is Animaniacs week. So what better way to celebrate the Animaniacs than doing meet the Animaniacs, the water tower tour and sky ride. And how this works. Is it a
drop tower, Spencer?
It's not a drop tower specifically. It's an observation tower.
It's just a tower, though.
So how this works is similar to like, the Statue of Liberty in general, where you go up on the elevator, the Statue of Liberty. This water tower is built like the Warner Brothers water tower, where the Animaniacs live. Going wacko. This is going a lot poorlier than I thought. Poorlier? Oh boy. All right.
This is where we're starting, bud.
All right. Maybe I should come back to this one. No, I'm gonna do it. All right. So how this works is there's a tower at the top. As like there's a tower up in a
water tower.
Right, correct. It's a water tower.
I'm glad the tower's at the top.
Yeah, it's at the top. Great. And so
it's one of those negative ones.
So similar to like the New York, what is it, the High Line, where you can like walk above the city. This is how I've thought about the safety of just being up on a tower. That there's like a walkway, around the tower. So you basically, in the spirit of the Statue of Liberty, as I was mentioning, you take an elevator up to the top of the tower. And when you're on there, it's like an observation deck that you can look out over the park, but you can also go inside the water tower and explore the Animaniacs house. And that's really what it is. It's the water tower tour and sky ride.
It's the Mickey's house of rides.
Thinking same exact thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Like you take an elevator up to any tower and look out the side. And
you don't even get to look out the sides because it's a water tower. So it's just an empty.
Then you get to walk around the top.
Yeah, I was saying nothing. He has a central outward thing, but then the inside is the Mickey's house in Toontown, which I think would be
which I'd go to.
You described the New York. I don't even remember what you call it.
The High Line.
The High Line.
Yeah.
You described the New York High Line as what you looked at for your safety features. You mean a fence? You looked at your safety features for a fence?
No, it's technically a railing.
Oh.
If it's up there.
Well, correct. I mean, what I did was I wasn't thinking about it. You just go up into a tower and you're just standing outside of this tower. There has to be some kind of barrier.
We didn't think that you were just going to have them just on a ledge.
No, it's just one of those open air towers. You mean about?
You can describe it. I don't think you're going to have them just like, no, I'm just going to have them right on top of the tower.
It is a drop tower. It's just you're going to drop off of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, so I'm in the pictures. I had the idea of you sitting, and you rise up in a ride version going up to the top, but then I realized you can't really get off that way. So
there's way more mechanics. This is a lot cheaper just to build a tower.
Yeah, and also an elevator.
Well, the elevator is specifically for accessibility because otherwise you have to walk up to the tower, which people can't. Not everyone can walk up to the tower.
So you can make it a spiral ramp the whole way up.
But you can also, I do not like spiral ramps. I will never put a spiral ramp in anything that I do because they terrify me a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
Getting down is the hardest part. I don't.
You don't like tiny little spiral ramps that you have to like put foot over foot and then almost miss your step.
It's coming down is the issue.
Parking garages must be a nightmare.
Feet. I have big feet.
You should see anytime he comes to a spiral staircase, literally frozen with hate.
Yeah, it's coming down. I have to decide if I want to go forward and maybe miss the step or walk backward and not see where I'm going. And
that's
I don't
walking,
like that feeling.
But that's just walking.
It's not fear. It's hate. It's like he just despises him.
I've had issues. Anyways, the point is, so the observation tower water tour. So inside you can take pictures with the Animaniacs where they live and all that stuff. But you go up the elevator and it's a clear elevator. So you can see everything as you go up. And then when you go up, you get off and there's someone guiding you to the tower. And then you have the observation deck at the top. So it's like kind of a ride, kind of an attraction, but I feel like it's iconic Animaniacs, the water tower.
You can't call the elevator a ride.
I don't know. He seems to have.
I mean, but it's like a
describing it as kind of a ride, but there is no ride element.
And
this is an attraction.
Here's the kicker.
It's not a ride.
And Chris, I need you to keep this in mind. Whatever we say to fix an idea is not what you're going off of. You're going off of the original pitched idea. With that said, if he did something like the Statue of Liberty, or moreover, the Top of the Rock, where the bottom of your elevator is a TV screen, and you're seeing as you're being lifted up in the standard elevator, the show that's below you is you seeing the lot transform. That'd be really cool to see like productions going up and down and seeing like time move through, or even just to see it in animation as the Animaniacs would do. I think there's something there. However, your idea of just a clear elevator would also work.
Idea is very much like the Willy Wonka elevator, where you can like kind of see out of it, and it's like an experience, even though it's an elevator.
Here's
the
thing. I don't hate your tower. I think your tower is fine. I just don't think it's a ride. I don't think you can describe it as a ride. An elevator up to your tower is not a ride.
It's an to be fair, we're harping on something that isn't his attraction. His attraction is the actual house itself.
Well, it's also the elevator.
In my defense, I actually originally called it a sky ride because I was actually going to have, like I said, as you're going up, you're on the ride, like as if you're going on a drop tower, but then you get off. But then I realized I don't know how to get people off of a rotating thing in the air. So
Chris,
I skipped it.
I will ask. I like the idea of the interior of the Warner Tower with the rooms of the Animaniacs, and an observation deck is always a blast. But the thing is, what is the process of like loading and unloading people? It's when you get to the top, that's you exit from the top, we have to come back down again, because like with that like bottleneck number of people wanting to come in. Because I know one of the reasons why the Mickey Mouse house works out is because it's streamlined and you walk through it and there's an exit and can keep people going.
Yeah, so this originally was why I had the skyride part, because you go up on the skyride and you go down the elevator, and then I pitched it not that way. So the answer would be, I think it would just be a methodical play of the elevator. So it's like you send a group up, and it would be a timed attraction. I think even with like Mickey's house, all those houses, you can't just be there for hours. You have a certain amount of time where you get to meet with Mickey, and then you have to move on. So with this, it's you go up, they send a group up, and then that group comes out, and then they start sending other people down. Once those group down, they come out, then you send up the next group. So there's no real bottleneck, but it's like that consistent going of the elevator. I'm using my hands to describe it, but I don't.
Yeah, but also I have so many questions, and the biggest of them being, yes, I'm if I understand Chris's question correctly here, you're asking if it bottlenecks the people by just being elevators. You're lifting people up into the air above standard structures and then bringing them back down again. It's just a bank of elevators.
It's just one elevator.
Oh, it's just one elevator.
One elevator?
Oh, okay. I was thinking like if there was like an entering elevator and an exiting elevator, that way like there's no mixture of people. Or what if, for example,
you mean just elevators, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're normal.
The kind of elevators, the ones that go only down and the ones that go only up.
Exactly.
They're disposable. Once you get up there, you don't even need them anymore.
You have to make a new one every time, but it only goes one way.
You could even just have multiple elevators and just have a person at the bottom queuing the line going click, 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 click. All right, you go on that elevator, great.
Or not even that, because they solve that problem with just buildings in general, with seeing the dial or where it is on the floor. I don't understand how this is a problem.
It's because you can only have so many people up at the top of the tower.
Oh,
for
no,
safety
I
concerns.
gathered that.
So that's why you need a person down the bottom to sort of regulate how many people are going up and how many people are coming down.
Correct. Yeah. You also have to think about the fact that even with Tower of Terror, you load in and load out of the same elevator. You just go out different entrance and exit. I can't remember. I just did it recently and I don't remember how I got out now.
Same exit, but two different floors.
Yep.
Right.
So, Spence, what's your next idea?
Mm-hmm. So that's my first idea. Really, it was the water tower tour is really the idea. Sans the ride, I guess. My next attraction is because I've never pitched a stunt show, so I figured why not pitch a stunt show this week? And my stunt show is Pinky Almost Destroys the World, an Acme Labs stunt show. So what?
Out of all the characters who make their point to destroy things.
Yeah. So I originally was thinking of doing Operation Lollipop as a stunt show, But then I felt like that was too obscure. So I just went with a very general.
No, I mean, buddy, commit to it. Tell us about your show.
So Pinky Almost Destroys the World, an Acme Labs stunt show, which is very much like a stunt show. I see it sort of like the Universal makeup show at Universal, where it's like a little gaggy, a little funny, where there's like all these different things. But I have this whole idea of like, I want the whole set to be like, like fireworks, and I put that in quotes because they don't, safety fireworks. They're not real fireworks, but they are, in stunt shows, it's a stunt firework. It's not a real firework. Anyways, but the idea is that they're all set up, and then when Pinky almost destroys the world, they go off like a Rube Goldberg machine. So like the domino effect, they just kind of go off, and it makes these like kaboom, bam, boom, pow, pow, and it's like cartoon kabooms and sounds and things like that. But then, like lighting effects, and maybe the person playing Pinky gets caught on fire because they do that sometimes with the fire suit. So it's just a crazy stunt show with the brain trying to save the world because Pinky has now started to destroy it, because Acme Labs has started to go all over the place. And the show starts with a giant cage in the center where Pinky and the brain are. And then when the show starts,
so the show is to scale. So the audience members, the people that are being funneled into your stunt show, are being visually informed that they are now the size of Pinky and the brain, or is it a giant Pinky in this environment?
Good question.
Follow-up question.
That sounds like you've researched this one or decided
safety fireworks.
Yeah. Okay. So what I mean. Okay. So this is what I mean by it, and I'm trying to explain it. Okay.
Oh, I wish I did, bud. Oh, I wish I did.
It's kind of like so to answer your first question, everyone's little mice, and so everything's oversized. Second thing is so your perspective of as if you're a mouse, fly on the wall. The second question, I really in my brain have it exactly how I'm trying to describe these safety fireworks. What I mean is it's prop fireworks, and there are effects, practical effects that happen, like poof, boom, smoke things.
Just fireworks.
But they're not like, okay, so but fireworks,
stage pyrotechnics.
Stage pyrotechnics. Yeah. Thank you. Stage pyrotechnics that make it look like the fireworks are going off, but the fireworks actually move. They're built to move like Rube Goldberg machine
so
side.
You're talking about like old style Acme giant like red fireworks that are a physical prop.
Correct.
With actual pyrotechnics coming out of it to show that something's going on.
That's exactly how I would describe it.
I sure hope it is. But like I actually think that's super cool. The idea of bringing those kind of antics to stage and getting to see that like cartoon physics applied to a stunt show where you're basically just doing slapstick, but you're centering it around a core idea. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, so I for me, I really love slapstick, and there's not a lot of slapstick anymore. People just kind of put it by the wayside. And I wouldn't say that I know Pinky and the Brain as much as I do Animaniacs, but knowing Pinky and the Brain, I always loved Pinky as a character because he was just so goofy and like was in his own world, which I feel like I kind of am most of the time. And it's like
we agree.
And the Brain is so focused on like everything and like making sure that Pinky doesn't mess it up. But Pinky is just kind of like, oops, I'm going to do whatever. There's cheese. I'm going to eat it. Because, those are his famous catchphrases.
Yep.
There's cheese. I'm going to eat it.
There's cheese. I'm going to eat it. From Pinky and the Brain.
And again, thinking about theme parks, we talk about how stunt shows are this thing that, Waterworld, Universal Horror Makeup Show, those are two of the greatest shows I've ever seen, like at a theme park. I love them a lot. And so I think I was like, Pinky and the Brain, I wanted to expand the universe from just Animaniacs. And I was like, let me look at a Pinky and the Brain thing. And of course I was like, I'll do a Pinky and the Brain drop tower. And then I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I thought about it and I was like, Pinky and the Brain, what works? And I was like, oh, they're in Acme Labs. Why not make Acme Labs as a show and do some kind of stunt thing? And so I like the idea of, so pyrotechnics with the giant is what I was trying to explain. I just can't.
What you were explaining, describing at the beginning there was did it sound like the finale where it's like everything rolls into the next thing, which explodes. What's the body of the show going to be?
Yeah. So what it would be is, so it starts with everyone comes in and there's like a giant cage on the stage with like Pinky and the Brain in there, like it's, all the scientists are going night. They're leaving or whatever. They're not in the lab at that time.
Did you forget the word for sleep?
No, they're going night.
I don't think I forgot the word. I think I just made a choice.
No, Acme. It's very widely known that Acme employees do not clock out; they go night.
They go night.
Yes, and that's why I said
it's company culture.
Oh, it's 5 p.m. It's my night time.
And that's why I said, when they go night and then they leave, is what I said.
That's when the night crew comes in.
Yeah, when they come back in, it's wakey.
And then so then it's mostly Pinky and the Brain. But I also have this. So they're like, oh, they're gone. We're gonna, I'm gonna work on my brainy things. And Pinky's like, I'm gonna eat cheese or whatever. So this is what happens. And Brain's like, okay, but don't touch anything. Don't get into anything. And so Pinky's like, I won't. I'm gonna go find cheese because that's his catchphrase. And so then what happens is throughout. So Brain is trying to make the world happen, and Pinky just doesn't know what's going on. So Pinky, puts his little paws in little test tubes and things that shouldn't be. But
Spencer?
also throughout, hold on. Whoa, hold on. I got my train of thought going. Hold on. And what happens is at one point I feel like I have this running gag of scientists coming in and it's like, oops, I forgot this thing, and it's like hide. And Brain goes and hides in the cage, but Pinky just like hides in like a test tube or in a firework or whatever. And so there's like this antic that goes back and forth. But then, Pinky knocks over something that causes the Rube Goldberg machine to go and everything crashes. Oh no, we destroyed the Acme Labs. No, we can save it. I'm the Brain. But then like maybe at the end, Pinky actually solves it. We don't know because you got to see the show.
Oh, so the Rube Goldberg situation is more of sets off them trying to solve the problem.
Correct. It's like the
finale.
It's like the inciting incident. And it's like, oops, Acme Labs, whoops, we got to fix it. And then they fix it. And then
the only thing I could equate this to is a frustration brain freeze. I'm so confused and angry that I don't know what to do.
How do you think I feel trying to explain my perfect idea in my brain and trying to actually get it out?
So here's the thing, couple things. First off, I love how Brain, the big line is tonight I'm going to take over the world. We're going to take over the world. We're going to conquer the world.
Every night's Pinky.
Right. So, he's doing the world.
Here he is. He's trying to save the Acme Lab.
Because it's a misguided step. He was going to take over the world, but oops, Pinky also made a mistake. And so he had to save the Acme Labs.
I like to think that we can clearly point out that you did not think about what size your audience was going to be. He did not think about
it's a mice stunt show.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He did not think about what size his audience was going to be, what size the mice were going to be, because then he just described lab assistants coming in and going out because they forgot things.
They're big puppet legs.
The size of a mouse.
I assumed they were to scale. They were just like,
they're
like
big. They're big like puppet legs.
So here's the thing. In my mind, I'm picturing an amphitheater the size of Waterworld. And in the center of it are just these tiny mice that are like walking across this giant stage to do these big I'd say it runs about 20 minutes.
Maybe it's like 23.
Yeah. No,
No, but I mean, it's like, forced perspective. Like you go in, everything's oversized. So
don't use the term forced perspective.
You learned this lesson.
Wait, no, that's not what I meant. What I mean is people are regular size and
Chris,
everything around them is big.
This is Theoretical Thrill.
What's your third idea, Spencer?
So I have
You're doing well so far.
I have one final attraction.
It's called Just a Television.
I told you I just kind of was like, all right, this week is fun, I guess. So I have Animaniacs because Animaniacs. I have Pinky and the Brain because Pinky and the Brain. And I thought, what else is an Animaniacs? And so I said, oh, the Goodfeathers are an Animaniacs. So I went with the Goodfeathers present an adventure through New York cinema because, you know, they have accents that are from New York
New York.
So you're joining. I got to get out my notes for this one.
Can we just like point out to people who can't see the PowerPoint? York is spelled Y-A-W-K.
I'm sorry. I don't even have the PowerPoint in front of me, and that makes it 10 times worse.
It's New York because that's when I was doing my Animaniacs research. It said they have New York accents, and they put it Y-A-W-K because it's a parody of New York. So they made it New York accents. So I did my research on how to spell New York in the world of the Animaniacs. Thank you. It doesn't always say that, but there was somewhere that I read that where it said York. So that's why I wrote it, because I literally saw that.
It doesn't always say that, but there was somewhere I read it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's where I got the idea because
it
said that. So because I literally remember looking it up and I was like, oh, that's funny. I'm going to do that.
You know what? I have a feeling I know what happened here. Spencer, you watched the Polish version of a knockoff of this show with the mice that say, I'm here to keep the world alive. Well, and a bunch of other parts. So the Animaniacs live in a building. And I get it. You just watched the wrong thing.
This was originally going to be Dr. Scratch and Sniff-O-Rama, but I couldn't figure out quite how to make that work. So it was going to be like a scratch and sniff ride.
Just make things that spell.
So I went with Goodfeathers. My point is, you're taking so Bobby, Squid, and Pesto are all going around through New York cinema, YAWK, doing parodies of all these New York movies like Goodfellas, The Godfather, one's from the show, and then other movies that take place in New York. So not Sleepless in Seattle because that takes place in Seattle. Maybe Big because there's FAO Schwartz, so maybe Big is a parody. The point is, it's a Dark Ride Wild Mouse kind of situation, but it's Roger Rabbit scenario where the seats shift as you're going through. So there's like this Wild Mouse element where it's indoors and it's a dark ride. It's
a dark ride.
It's a dark ride, a la Roger Rabbit meets a wild mouse. So you're in little, New York cabs, which is like Roger Rabbit cabs. Maybe I should describe it a little bit better. How it works is, or just describe it, I guess. So how it works is you get into your New York taxi, and you're actually you're going with Bobby, Squid, and Pesto, but you are a pigeon as well. So you're in a taxi flying. Maybe they shouldn't be taxis. Anyways.
There you go.
So whatever. The point is they got wings on the taxis and you're going through and you actually go up a lift hill like you would on a regular roller coaster. And so you're at the top of, the Empire State Building and you look out and you see a view of New York. This is all indoors though, but you see like Peter Pan's flight when you see everything over London, but this is you see over New York, but you see it much higher. And as you go, they're like, all right, let's go on a journey through all these movies. And then you do your little quicks through the Wild Mouse. As you go down the Empire State Building, you see these scenes of different movies, Goodfellas, The Godfather, other movies that take place in New York, like Big maybe, and some other movies. And you keep going down, Escape from New York, I think that's a movie.
You're saying movies at this point.
And then, New York. No, not New York. I mean, not King Kong. King Kong. I mean, King Kong. Is that what I mean? King Kong.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you think the movie King Kong was just called New York?
I meant to say King Kong. I was like, King Kong takes place in New York, but then I shouted New York because I got really excited that I thought of a movie. So as you go down, it's like you're going down, whipping through the Empire State Building as the pigeons are taking you down. You're flying down the Empire State Building. It's a Wild Mouse dark ride, but it's Empire State Building back and forth.
So it's a drop. So it's a drop tower.
No, it's not a drop tower. It's a Wild Mouse that goes down, and then you go on like a little dip, and then you go around. Here's another scene. Then you go on a dip, and then you go around.
Chris, do you have any questions that you can
that I can answer? Is the real question.
Let's see. I mean, off of that third ride, so essentially it's gonna span the entirety of just the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
Like, like a sort of slanted diagonal slope down as it's going down.
Yeah. So you're gonna start out, you go up the lift hill, you get to the top, and you do the whip around, and then it kind of does a little drop, and then you are back level again, whip around, so you see the scene, whip around, and then you go back down a little bit. So it's like you're going down the flights of the Empire State Building, but you're seeing scenes in each level of.
Okay.
And
So
much more condensed.
Kind of like going down like Donkey Kong, Mario, where you're like going up those levels, like up and down, sort of snake ways. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
It's basically he's compartmentalized a Wildcat coaster into the form factor of a large Empire State Building with vignettes to show off parts with these birds.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
It's
now you see how I did that in less than a minute?
You see, it's funny that you say that, because the idea of the Donkey Kong thing I never would have thought of, and that kind of explains it exactly. So, my brain goes A to C. It doesn't go A to B.
Well, we've heard Spencer's pitches. We're going to move on now to Brad's pitches. So lock those away in your brain grapes, Chris. Let's move on to Brad's pitches. Brad, take it away.
All right, now some real pitches. Let's go ahead and get started with. I'm gonna start with my less thrilling of attraction. I'm gonna ramp up to my most thrilling attraction. So the first attraction I have is going to be a restaurant. Now the restaurant is themed around Pinky and the Brain, because the Brain has come up with a brilliant idea to take over the world.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
I wasn't either, but
he's come up.
You didn't want to come it up.
He's come up with he came up with a okay, look.
The show will never make it to air.
Look, he came up with a brilliant idea to conquer the world, to take over the world by wanting to start a fast food franchise.
Okay,
so he started at a theme park right out of the lab. So we're going to, as you enter, it's going to be themed to be like you're walking into a lab space. So the restaurant will be lab themed, and you'll go up to the counter and stuff like that. The big thing with this is it's sort of the theming of Monster Cafe at Universal Studios Orlando, where it's very they have like different rooms that are sort of focused and different themed, Frankenstein and the Swamp Thing and stuff like that. So I want to be really heavy on the theming to make it feel like, oh, you're walking into this lab. Now, I'm not going to scale up or change the size of Pinky and the Brain. They're going to be more just digitally in a sort of cage looking thing in the background, and they'll sort of come and go. It'll be like a pre-drawn, pre-recorded. They have their little,
like a Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway,
like a cartoon that keeps going over and over again.
Yeah.
And so they've sort of hired these. They've gotten these people to work for them to selling the food and making the food and stuff like that. So the big thing about this is all the food is going to be sort of cheese themed. So we'll have a sort of cheese-based menu. So grilled cheese. We will have some like milkshakes, cheeseburgers. The nice thing about this being a lab setting, though, is we can also use fake lab alternatives. So we'll be able to have the Impossible Burger and fake cheese. So for those people that do not eat meat or do not eat dairy, we have that alternative, and it fits within our menu scheme. So that is my Pinky and Brain fast food franchise to be named.
Does it have to? Okay, give it a name.
To be named. I couldn't think of a good name. So that's that. My second attraction. Do you have any questions?
No, not so far.
All right. My second attraction is based off of one of my favorite rides at Epcot, and that is Spaceship Earth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sort of Spaceship Earth type ride, except you're going to go in where Spaceship Earth is a continuous track of cars. These are going to be spaced out cars, so they're not going to be continuous. The reason for this is because what you're going to be seeing as you go through the Spaceship Earth is it's going to start off with Wacko singing the 50 states and capitals song with the states lighting up and like little sort of images of the capitals or like little things. So it's going to be like neon lights and little flashes, and it's going to go with the song as you're sort of going around this spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
But then Yakko has a brief moment with Wacko where he goes, "Don't you know there's more to the world than just the states and capitals?" And I goes, "Oh, really? You know, what is there?" And that's when Yakko then takes over and does his Nations of the World song. And so we expand into the Nations of the World. It's going to be a similar sort of thing, but it's now that song. We're going to get to see images of the different cultures from around the world. It's going to be a very sort of educational thing with some catchy tunes that I think will be a nice way to get out of the sun. It'll be a nice, decent length, you know, the 8-10 minute long ride. So you're getting people out of the sun. It's a great way to stay cool, but it's also going to be educational. It's going to be something that they exit and that song's going to be stuck in their head. So it'll be great for kids, especially. So that is my second ride. And I've simply called it Planet Earth Animaniacs style. That brings me to my third attraction. And this is my big attraction.
Just Dot. No.
Dot is in this ride.
Okay, good. I would hope so.
It's just a Dot ride. Just Dot.
So this is what it's going to be. This is called the WB Studio Tour. Okay. Now the reason it's called is you're going to be loading into a vehicle in similar in style to Star Tours or any of those motion simulator rides where you're gonna have the screen up at the front.
Massive amount of people that you can get on and off of it, so there's multiple areas.
So you're going to hop into a ride like this. However, as the presentation's about to start, as the person's kicking off the ride and you're about to get the little video of the WB lot tour to start off, the power is going to shut off. In the dark, you're going to hear Dot, Wacko, and Yakko fumbling around and deciding that they're going to take control of this tour. What's actually happening is while you're in the dark, that front screen is really a door. It's going to open up, all right? And then lights are going to pop back on and you're going to launch out of the WB tower into a coaster through an indoor coaster through the WB studio lot. Now there's not going to be any loops or anything like that. It's going to be
like weaving through the sound stages, different genres
like that. And so you'll be weaving through the sound stages. We're going to use sort of Mickey's, when you said Runaway Railroad, I didn't want to like tie my earlier thing to that because I actually wrote that this was tied to that as far as descriptions. Mickey's Runaway Railroad, and that we're going to be using digital projections mixed with animatronics and that sort of feel. So you'll get to see the different cast members of the Animaniacs. You'll get that Steven Spielberg cameo in there. You'll be able to see tons and tons of puns. I want so many puns that every time you ride, you're discovering new puns, because the thing I love about Animaniacs is the puns, and there's tons of them.
Per minute. It's the highest joke per minute.
So many. So that's going to be a big thing. It's just going to be a way to put a bunch of little puns and hidden little things all the way through it. It's a way for you to get to see the characters, see the studio, and you're going to have that sort of Animaniacs theme song, an extended version of that sort of theme song playing through as you're riding this ride to end up, and then you'll end at the WB gift shop, because of course that's where you're going to be at the end of any studio tour, and that is my ride.
So this would be in the vein, kind of like Matterhorn, where it's like, you know, the vignettes all over the place, but more detailed, a lot more sight gags.
Yes.
It feels very much like if you were to take Rock and Roller Coaster and add a door opening before the launch, and then you just kind of...
There's a reason, because they're practically the same thing.
I mean, it's like, or you could say The Mummy or any other
No, you're. I like the idea
launch
of you being
coaster
put into another ride and then being sent into another experience. But Chris, what's your question?
That's my big thing. Is you're going from one. You think you're going one ride, and then
you go to another one. Yeah.
Okay. I was just finding a comparable ride, just to get like a good visual.
Yeah.
So that's all it was.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Solid ride. I also loved it as the Simpsons ride.
The Simpsons ride is a complete CGI ride. You
wanted to actually break through, and that's your launch vehicle.
Yes.
That's fun. Yeah, I
wanted to be more than just a simulator.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so lock those away in your brain grapes, Chris, because we're going to move on to my pitches.
All right.
Now, how could I possibly sit here and compare it to the Pinky and Braid stunt show or Brad's coaster that's basically a thing?
You're just jealous you didn't think of my coaster.
Oh, no, I'm so jealous. So jealous.
What's your death trap? Just go.
So let's start off. No, we're going to build to the death trap last. So let's first start off with something that I think will be near and dear to Chris's heart, because it's something that is my favorite part about some of the theme parks. And those are those little moments with groups of improvisers where they get to mess around and talk to people. We had people on the podcast who have played those characters in theme parks before. And this one specifically is going to be 3 puppeteers manning the birds from Good Feathers. So you will have Squirt, you will have Bobby, and you will have Pesto as rigged characters in the style of Zazu from the Broadway show of Lion King. So those full puppeteered characters that you can play with. Those will be going around the park, messing with people, having little moments where they just pick each other apart and insult the guests. They redeem themselves via the interactions, but the whole point is to make it so these characters can be like, no, I was talking to you. Or you can run back into the same group of people that you ran into before and carry on through those moments. The other thing about this is the fact that it's not tied down to one location, just as pigeons aren't. So you can have them hanging out at the cafes. You could have them below the tables and then have them pop up and surprise people like, oh, you dropped the fry. And I know I don't have New York in it, but my idea would be to have these birds interacting sort of similar to the cops from Universal.
Okay, so these are going to be puppeteers and stuff like that. And they're just going to be hiding under the tables to pop out?
No, they're walking around the park.
No, you said you could have them hiding under the tables. You dropped a fly. So you could have a grown person.
Yes.
So okay. This is Curious George the Good Feathers experience.
Basically, in this situation, these are improvisers that are literally walking around with puppets. They're not tied down to a singular location. They could literally get on rides with people.
That's Streamosphere. What's your next pitch?
The next pitch. So what I want to do is I want to bring a interactive experience called Jep Parody, which is the show that Brain goes on in one of the episodes. One of the episodes, Brain tries to fund one of his wild and crazy ideas by going on their universe's equivalent to Jeopardy. In this episode, the puppeteer, this is another puppet, but it's going to be puppeteered from a 2-person rig. So there'll be someone inside the suit itself, because the visual is a giant metal body and a little brain head as one of the contestants. And when people question it, he goes, it's a giant metal body and I'm a mouse head. I don't understand. It's a complicated machine. So we're going to have people play Jeopardy or Jep Parody with Brain in this suit. This little animatronic puppet, kind of like the character they invented for the last Star Wars movie. That's like the best droid programmer.
Oh, yeah.
Babu Frisk.
Yes.
I may have pronounced it wrong. Oh, there's going to be comments. It's fine. So what I'm looking to have is that juxtaposition of a giant 6'2" body and this little head. And you can build it up onto the shoulders, so there's space for ventilation, and it's basically a character. But the segment producer is going to be Pinky. So somehow Pinky has gotten a hold of the headset that's feeding it through to the show. and keeps asking dumb questions every time Brain gets through. One of the other things is that the host has to keep calling him Brian, because this basically causes Brain to spiral. So these interactive moments, it'll just be several times during a day where an audience will funnel in. There'll be a game show element to it, kind of like a 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, but it's a scripted way to get them to lose before Brain ends up winning. No matter what happens, you rig it to have him win.
Right.
And then spirals out of control before locking himself in the cage on the monitors, where it's like, what are we going to do next time, Brain? Same thing as we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. It's the whole idea is that it resets every time. They keep trying to attempt it. This show can be updated to have new questions added in and taken out, depending upon what time you want to do it. But the idea is that we could funnel in a bunch of audience members, have scripted jokes written in between the host and the puppeteer who's playing Brain, and the physicality of that. It's a theater experience.
All right. So you got 2 puppet ideas. What's your third puppet idea?
The core mechanic of every Animaniacs episode is that someone is trying to get something very simple done. Whether it's Michelangelo painting the ceiling, which is not simple, but he's painting is the whole point. And they paint floors, but it's beneath them. One of my favorite jokes from that show. But the whole mechanic is the fact that they are pop culturally removed from the world around them. Mm-hmm. So my ride would be to bring back another ride, in almost in the sense of what you were saying, where they ship off another roller coaster to another place.
Superstar limo.
That is correct, Spencer.
Yes.
Oh my God.
My idea would be to take the failed California Adventure ride, the ride that only lasted a year because it was bad.
Superstar limo.
I mean, it was bad, but it is actually Superstar limo. However, here's what I want to do. The Animaniacs.
Superstar taxi.
Nope. The Animaniacs have decided to go and fix this ride. They're here to help.
By making it Monsters, Inc. themed?
Nope. So what they're going to do is they're going to, in the standard style of the Animaniacs, pick these pop culture references apart, making jokes, undercutting everything that's going on, pointing out how bad this ride is, messing things up, trying to repaint them, opening up animatronics, saying like, I don't know, I thought they made candy in here. Like that sort of, that pull it apart, tear it a new one style of Animaniacs as they go through
Spencer.
The literal Superstar limo ride. This is arguably one of the most practical ideas I've ever come up with, because the fact that you're just buying an old ride.
But you're not. Yes, you're not buying the old ride.
I know, because it's Monsters, Inc. now. But you got to go and you got to get all the puppets and all the old layout and build it on the Warner Brothers lot.
Puppet!
That's what I want to do. You're getting all of the parts secondhand, so they are as janky as physically possible, and immediately torn apart by the voices of the Animaniacs as they join you on this adventure through just trying to get through a ride.
You would be buying the Monsters Inc. ride then and reskinning the Monsters Inc. ride, because the Monsters Inc. ride reskinned Hollywood.
That is correct.
Monsters Inc. is a fun ride.
And here's the thing: if they wouldn't be willing to sell it, I'll take it one step further. They have to rebuild the crappy ride. They have to just artistically recreate the Superstar limo ride, in my mind.
I mean, but that's essentially all they did with Monsters Inc. is they just put those little costumes over the actual people. You can still like see the same shapes and everything.
You still see the same shapes, but the whole point of this is the idea that you'll go through Beverly Hills and you'll hear quips and puns and jokes through Yakko, Wacko, and Dot as you're chased by Ralph T. Guard. So Ralph T. Guard will be chasing you through this, trying to get you with a big net, which is the best way to capture an Animaniac. But you're going through the Great Hollywood ride, or this, not the Great Hollywood ride, the Superstar limo.
Oh, I want to see this in the Great Hollywood,
yes.
Great Movie Ride.
The Great Movie Ride.
So
it's actually, that would have even been better. It's just the Great Movie Ride, but it happens to be the Animaniacs picking it apart. See, in fact, that would have been something I could have just bought. But instead, I picked something that had been already fixed.
It seems that this is a really good Hollywood ride for networking, because Ralph T. Guard is working the net to capture the Animaniacs in Hollywood. So I feel like it's a really good ride for networking.
Wow. Have you just been waiting for that?
What are you?
Yes.
What are you?
I hate you so much.
So
I appreciate that.
Just the delivery of it too was like, yeah. So just to get serious for a moment, this seems like a really good ride for networking.
There's no physical net going over them too.
No, I know that. Anyway. It's a joke.
Oh, I apologize.
No. He didn't get it, Spencer.
Sarcasm.
Yeah, no, I just don't have his wit. But yes, those are my 3 rides. So it is literally Superstar Limo.
Can we hold on? Those are your 3 attractions. You only have 1 ride.
I mean,
and it's a reskin ride. Like you even called it a reskin ride. So you have 1 ride, 3 attractions though.
They all involve puppets.
1 ride, 2 attractions.
They're all attractions.
All with puppets.
Rides are attractions.
2 are with puppets.
Rides are attractions. Attractions just aren't all rides.
So, Chris, out of all of these lovely turds, you have to find the diamond and award some points here.
Okay.
I do not envy you this week. I know that it is such a tight race across the board. Do you have any more questions for me before we go into that?
Okay, so for Superstar, we're sticking specifically with the original references and celebrities. Okay, cool. Because I was curious of these rides, like, were we going to stay 90s references or update for 2020?
Oh no, these are the original bad ideas.
And it includes all of the celebrities who are unfortunately no longer with us, which is about half of those.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you watch Animaniacs? That's what they reference consistently.
I think there's an episode with Joan Rivers.
That was one of the ones that was current out of all the characters. Okay, Chris, you got a hard choice ahead of you. So let's go through and award some points. Okay, so your first category you're dealing with here is creativity. All right.
Creativity. Okay.
So for bronze, what would you give it to?
Ooh, creativity. Let's see. I would probably say the restaurant for Pinky and the Brain.
Boom.
I love your reasoning for having the alternatives for nutrition with like soy or fake cheese and Impossible Burger and beef 2.0. What is it called?
Yeah, one that Tosh 0.0.
The vegetable thing that bleeds.
Yeah, that one.
Beet.
I really do appreciate that. Especially lately, a lot more people are very sensitive to certain things. I think that it's still. I think that having it Pinky in the Brain, it works with justifying the meats, but as a theme of taking over the world and through that way, I was like, it's a little confusing, but it's still very
McDonald's pretty much owns the world right now.
Well, here's the thing. I love the idea of just like, it literally looks like an Americana McDonald's style restaurant that's blatantly trying to take over the world. Where it's like, its brain is like, we have these things, but they will cause you to die slowly. Like just those things where it's like the thing that is the flaw.
I got the bronze point. Let's not tear apart my wonderful idea and ruin it with your thoughts. What did you give silver?
Silver for creativity, Chris.
Oh boy,
creativity for silver.
The slap happy episode at this point.
Oh boy.
I think I like the stunt show for creativity. The Pinky Stunt Show, because it's always a favorite to like have that for the practical effects and having it like the energy of being a live stage thing. I think it'd be very like, if you can work out the kinks, it'll be very fun to watch. And Pinky the Brain.
And even if you don't, it'd be fun to watch.
Sure.
And then for gold, I think I will reward the gold to creativity. As I can't say no to a good improv with puppets, guys. I'm so sorry. I really like the good feathers interactable
encounters.
Puppets.
Interactable encounter.
Interactable encounters. Especially with having people on the streets, there are so many moments where they could be, creating memories in between going from one ride to the next, and in eating and having that come to them, especially with like a pop-up sort of thing with the puppets. It really creates like special moments that, if you happen to come across them, like, oh my gosh, I remember when they showed up and they did this thing. It's like, it really makes smaller moments like that very.
I could not agree more, Chris. And Brad feels the same. He's so happy for me that I won gold.
I gotta be honest.
This idea specifically.
It's creative. It's a creative idea. I gotta give it to you.
Brad is furious right now.
I built an amazing ride, and
but this is
what gets it.
Activity, not like favorite.
I'm sorry. My creative ride, he put 3 people in bird outfits and
bird puppets.
No.
And they might be under tables or they might go on rides. We don't know. That's how creative.
We don't know. That's how creative.
All right, moving on to practicality.
I try to explain it to you, but I have so many awards.
Moving on to practicality.
Chris, this is the ride that you could see popping up at a theme park. You could see it being really easy to pull off, easy to accomplish, something that is not going to require a bunch of building. This is something that could be easily inserted into a park.
Okay. Let's see. Practicality, I think, bronze. I'm going to have to say the Superstar Limo, only because you have to buy the old ride. Yeah. And it's like that makes it the most difficult thing. But if you can pull that off, the meta commentary would work, I think, especially with the Animaniacs humor. Silver, I believe. Let's see.
I'm surprised that wasn't higher.
Same. I'm honestly, and here's the thing: it's the fact that you have to buy the whole ride.
Yeah,
you
that's
have the
thing.
Blueprints. It'd be very easy to copy the blueprints. They have all the designs already.
Yeah, we're getting into like legal, like IP stuff.
It's acquiring a ride that's already in use.
With Disney, no less. Yeah. Silver, I want to say, you know what? I'm going to go this way. Silver, I'm going to say the puppets again, because it is going to be very simple to create puppets in the style of those Lion King, Timon and Pumbaa. They walk around and they just interact with people. That's all you need: the costumes and the people, and then maybe like a limit, off-limit topics for the people to do. That's all you need. So I mean, I think that would make sense completely. And then gold
puppets are winning the day.
Puppets will always win the day.
And then for gold, practicality, it's gonna go.
Don't you do it? Don't you give it to the water tower?
The water tower.
Damn it!
I'm so sorry. No, reason being.
Don't be sorry.
Because hearing that idea of being able to, because the water tower isn't a space you really get to see a lot in the show. So you don't get a
cool thing to get to go experience.
Exactly. And like you have so much room for creativity with designing the interior and like putting hidden Easter eggs. And who as a Animaniacs fan would not want to go into that and explore that? Because whenever I go to like Goofy's house and Donald Duck's house, as much as it's built for kids, it's very exciting to go through and see all the jokes that kids would completely miss. With the complication of the elevator, I'm sure there's a way to readjust that. But the initial idea of the interior with seeing everyone's like own personal space and the jokes, and I think would be an absolute hit.
All right. So there's practical. Now we're on to the final category. And this is the one that is completely subjective to you. So what is your guest favorite for bronze?
Guest favorite for bronze.
Brad is already upset.
Actually, it's going to be the Spaceship Earth with the educational songs, because those songs are absolute hits. And being able to see the how to blend the capitals and states into the countries of the world or nations of the world. Would be really interesting to write a script for the transition wise, and then having the effects of whatever vignettes or animations you're gonna put up as you're going through would be very fun as well. And then these songs are absolute classics. So
So now let's move on to silver. For the silver for guest favorite.
Guest favorite for silver. It's gonna go to the Water Tower. Again, I absolutely love the idea of going into their home and seeing everything. So yeah, that's where my silver goes to.
And now we're on to the gold. This is for all the marbles.
Gold, yes. So gold for guest favorite. It's going back to the puppets. I'm sorry. That's my decision on that, because I would love to just banter with the three pigeons. It'd be a blast. Absolute blast.
I just want to point out, in the show called Theoretical Thrills, I'm the only one that created a thrill ride, which received no rewards, no awards.
That is correct.
Nothing.
You could consider my sky ride to be a thrill ride.
You did not have a sky ride. You have a tower.
No, you have a tower.
But also you have to ride the elevator up and then you walk.
That is
on
not
the
a thrill ride.
No.
Area. It's kind of terrifying. It's a little
I take an elevator to my apartment every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to bring our episode to a close. Chris, before we get out of here, do you have anything you want to plug or promote?
Oh gosh. Right now, if you want to follow me, I'm Snapshutter at Instagram. My Twitter is the 5th Hollywood Chris. 5th is spelled out, and then Hollywood is just HW. I post sometimes. With everything going on, there's not really much for me to do on my daily basis. So
that's why we made a podcast.
And I just want to remind the audience that if you feel I was wronged, as we all know I was in this episode, comment down below. For every, I think for every like we get on this video, we're just going to deduct a point from Oliver.
Okay, hold on a minute.
I'm fine with that.
That's fine. We're fine with it. We got a 2/3 vote. There you go.
Change the utility of the show. With that, we come to a close. This has been Theoretical Thrills. I've been Oliver.
I'm Brad.
And I'm Spencer.
And that's Chris. Have a great night.
Did you enjoy the episode you just watched? Feel free to like, subscribe, and share. And if you have an interpretation of an idea based on the theme of the week, feel free to tag us on social media with #TheoreticalThrills, and we may feature your ride and attraction on the show.
Theoretical thrills, the theory of the thrill.